Hey, Pat Mannix, tax champion here. Here today to talk to you about myself. Actually, there's a little bit of narcissism in all of us, and it's my time to shine. So you'll just have to bear with me. Obviously, I'm a big Tigers man with my autographed Dusty Martin jumper here, tattoos, mohawk, the works, and I want to concentrate on that, my tempestuous love affair with the Richmond Football Club. So we'll wind back to 1973 when I was an attacker and switched from Fitzroy to the Tigers. Actually, the Tigers had won a flag and I was keen as mustard to switch. My grandfather was not too impressed. In fact, every time I went over to his place, he called me a turncoat every single time. Brought me to tears, and from that point on, the Tigers did bring me a fair bit of crying tears. So we'll roll forward a bit to the year 1989, and actually I was on the Tigers list. You wouldn't believe that, would you? The tax champion on the Tigers football playing list, 1989. But that's not where it ends. Everyone wants to be famous or infamous for something. So, 1989, the last year of the Victorian Football League. Yep, the precursor to the AFL, the greatest sports competition in the world. And the VFL, the Victorian Football League, as I said, last year was 1989. And who was the worst team of that year? Who was the worst club that year? The poor old Tigers. And yep, your tax champion was on the list. And I was one of those players who was the worst. The player you go and watch and say, why is that nufty out there? Anyway, so 1989, last year of the VFL, the tax champion's on the list and I was the first one cut. So, why do I mention that? Because when the trivia night comes up, the question comes up and says, who was the last worst VFL player ever? You say, who was that tax champion bloke, Pat? Someone? Yep, that was me. So I was unceremoniously kicked out of there for not getting the footy. And yep, the last worst VFL player in history. Now let's wind forward to the good stuff. We had a lot of bad years in there for the Tigers, but what about 2017? Unbelievable. Dusty and the crew bringing off the flag. And now we want to bring this all the way back to tax now, and the way I'm going to bring it back to tax is with that famous man, Jack Revolt, or Jack Revolting we like to call him, up on stage after the GF with the Killers. And who can remember that song, Mr. Brightside? You can't remember it? Here's a little bit of it now. Here we go. How good was that? Grand final day by the Killers. Okay, and that's where the tax comes in. My hobby and famous club, the Tigers, has brought in the Killers for that Killer song, and it is the Killer that I want to concentrate on this next couple of series in the tax champion. So there is a killer out there. It's ruining Western democracies. It's making life hell for a lot of people in the world. It's called the Killer. I'll bring it up next time if you tune into the tax champion. Get out there and subscribe, and I'll bring you the next stage of the Killer when you come back to tax champion. Woohoo! Woo!